Hi guys, I'm Dan Davidson, and I'm ready to talk some Scheetz.
Our first live performer in the studio.
Yeah, with his own theme song. Take it away.
I'm taking it away. Even when we got nothing to talk about, there's nowhere I'd rather be. Something about you and me, just sitting around talking Scheetz.
And that took one take.
Definitely.
Yeah, that definitely was the first time I did that. This is an unedited podcast.
I think the song's even better live, though.
It is.
yeah.
It really is. Dan Davidson, welcome. Of course, the theme song guy. How can you not be the first musical guest we have on this show? And I was thinking about it before you came on. You are truly the coolest guy I know that doesn't know he's cool.
Oh, well, that's a nice compliment.
Does that make sense? Like I think you think you're a nerd, but you're so nerdy you're cool.
Maybe it just hasn't hit me yet. Maybe one day I'm gonna wake up and go, all these years, I was cool all along.
I do think a lot of musicians know they're cool.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's
Or
the
they
difference.
think they're cool.
Yeah.
And they're actually not.
Yeah, but playing music does make you inherently a bit cooler than the layman.
That's what I keep telling people. I've been telling my mom that since I was 13. One day this is gonna pay off, Mom.
Yeah.
Someone in a basement is going to tell me I'm cool in a basement podcast studio.
It's I always knew I was gonna end up in a basement. Glad it's not tied to a water heater.
Not yet.
It is. Well, there is a water heater like about 5 feet from you right now. So
That's cozy in here, you guys. This is a nice little spot.
It works out. It's pretty warm in here because again, the time that we recorded this show, it was like 30 below outside, and we had to turn the furnace off, so we had to turn it up to make sure that we could heat the whole house before that point. So it is warm in here right now.
It's toasty. Yeah, I like it though. I like it. It makes us all feel like we're doing something.
Okay, well,
we're working hard.
we got a lot of things to talk about, but we want to talk about the song, the theme song. Poor Dan. How many times have I gotten you to do things for me? You and Brett Kissel did a Stollery song for me. You remember that?
I forgot about that, actually.
That's my story.
Okay, yeah.
Right? You remember that?
We did
cool
that,
tune?
yeah.
Exactly. Some Oiler music for the Oilers that we will get to before this is over.
Yeah, that was great. That actually worked out awesome.
Yeah, and now the poor guy, doing my work on Sports 1440, I just kind of go in once a week on a Tuesday morning. We literally go in at the exact same time because you're working on CFCW. And so the poor guy, he has no choice, but as we're walking in, I'm hitting you over the head with, hey, you know what you need to do for me?
Well, I didn't mind actually, Chris. I like you. I like talking Scheetz.
I didn't mind. I didn't mind. Bailey, does that sound like it's 100%?
I didn't really know the background story of the ask, but when you're entering the building before a morning show, that's like in the middle of the night.
So there's a strange man approaching my vehicle.
Yeah.
It's dark out.
In
It's
a parking
5 in
lot
the morning.
at West Edmonton Mall.
You're barely awake. He kind of took advantage of you.
I dialed 911. I was just waiting for the last one. So we got there. But no, it's good. I have never done a podcast song before. I never played really like jazzy kind of music like that. So I found myself just like walking around going, what have I committed myself to? What does a podcast song even sound like?
Right.
But I don't know. It just kind of sounds like just a quirky little thing that you might, it's a song that you might just find yourself whistling. And that's kind of what I was trying to go with.
We love it. Yeah.
I'm glad you guys like it.
I think, it gets in your head.
I go to bed with it in my head. I wake up with it in my head. Sometimes in the middle of the day, it's showing up in my head.
My kids know it.
Yeah?
So there you go.
Hey,
Okay.
that's one. The youth are the future. So if we can get your girls on board.
Yeah, exactly. And they're more likely to download a podcast than some of the older people. So there you go.
I know. It's funny when podcasts first came out. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, what is a podcast? But it's kind of like just on-demand talk radio about stuff you actually care about. It's essentially it, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So there you go, old people that are listening. That's what it is. That's what we're doing here.
It's the definition of a podcast.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with Dan. You talked about your mom when you were 13. You were telling her, but this is going to pay off someday. I'm going to be a singer. Your dad is
My dad's a judge. Yeah, he's a judge in Alberta here at Kings Court Bench, and very proud of him. He's always been a huge music fan. I think he's probably stemmed from growing up in the 70s, and his mom wouldn't let him be in a rock and roll band because bad stuff was happening in the 70s.
The devil.
So it's been actually really great. He bought me my first guitar when I was probably 12, 13, and his mom was a piano teacher. He's just one of these guys, like, you know, those frustrating people out there that are just good at stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great singer, great piano player, guitar player. He just
Great
figures
father.
it out. Yeah, great
judge.
guy. Just awesome. Yeah, painfully logical.
Yeah.
Just frustratingly logical. He's perfect for the judge role.
I can't imagine having a judge for a dad. Like, you know, how do you argue with him, right? And win an argument.
I try not to argue with him. You know, the funny thing is though, and this made me realize that he was so perfect for that gig. Is that he. Even as a teenager, he had a way, like I'd have these existential crises, right? And I'd look into my parents for some help and advice. And what do? I'm stuck. There's no answer to my problems. And he always has this way of saying like a 4-word sentence. And he's like, well, it's just this. And I'm like, he's right.
Just make it happen.
Yeah. Well,
right?
What are you going to do about it? Better figure it out. I'm like, yeah, it's good advice for life.
Right. But it's so neat that his life went a completely different direction than yours. But he was always so supportive of yours because I think in some ways you're kind of like living his dream.
I think he thinks it's pretty cool. Yeah, you know, it's like my whole family is full of professionals. There's doctors and pharmacists and lawyers and teachers and stuff. So every family needs that one weirdo that gets in a van and eats pepperoni and drinks chocolate milk for a living. I'm that weirdo.
That's
I'm proud
a good
of it.
quality.
All right. Well, you get into the music business and you get into a rock band, and I'm going to let Bailey tell her part of this story and why this just. She came into the house today. A, she had to feed a baby in a hurry, but B,
Which is every podcast I'm feeding a baby in a hurry.
But B, the other thing she said was,
well, Dad had written an outline and with some questions, but none of them mentioned Tupelo Honey. Well, you mentioned your former career and kind of your music evolution.
I was planning to get there. But
yes,
still.
It wasn't specific. It wasn't specific enough, and I need to talk about the fact that "Make Me Believe" is a formative song for me.
Oh, no way.
Yes, very much. I can close my eyes and imagine a junior high dance. The lights are down.
That's
Make Me Believe starts. Everyone is pairing up with their crushes. I'm pairing up with the wall, and I'm just kind of sitting back, being like, "Man, this is a good song."
Boy, would it be nice to be in love right now.
I felt like I knew what it would be like just listening to the song.
Oh man, we're painting a picture.
Yes, big fan of Tupelo
that's
Honey.
So great.
Yeah.
I'm always blown away when actually people remember the band. It feels like a lifetime ago for me now, and it was such a massive part of my life. Like we had conquered the mountain a little bit as an indie band. You know, we were touring with Bon Jovi and playing arenas, and we were independent. I was like 22. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Now I have serious, you know, if I had only known then what I know now syndrome.
Right.
You never know you're in the good times until the good times are over. That's what they say.
That's true. But you know, we had so many great experiences and stories playing in that band, and you know, got to make some lifelong friendships with my guys in the band. And a couple of them still play with me actually in the country bands.
So you mentioned that your dad wanted to be in a rock band but wasn't allowed, and then you ended up in a rock band. Talk about the very beginning of how that formed, because it was here in Edmonton.
Yeah, so it's St. Albert actually, you know, born and raised out there, and well, not really born out there, but I was raised out there.
Okay.
and yeah, you know, we like getting into the only thing I really knew that I loved when I was in high school, you know, people start thinking about what are you going to do for a living? What's your career path? And I just knew I wanted to play guitar and hang out with my friends, as most 16-year-olds seem to come to realize.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was in a bunch of terrible little bands. We'd play, you know, our local talent searches and stuff. And then after school was done, after high school was done, my best buddy, his dad was the bass instructor at MacEwan University, the music program there. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'll just throw a dart and see if I can get in and see where that takes me. So I got in, probably by the skin of my teeth. I was not ready. I was 17, going to college and standing on the outside of the beer gardens, wondering how good the beer tasted.
That's the worst part.
But yeah, I met a couple guys that were just, you know, we clicked with, and I wasn't really like I think I kind of got through MacEwan because of some loose natural ability, but I didn't excel there. Like I didn't study hard. I wasn't ready. I just knew I loved music, but I did pick up a few things, and I learned what I wanted out of music, and that was to make music, not to play other people's music, but to make music. I loved playing with people. I loved the whole jamming side of things, and every time we played a show, it was kind of like that was my favorite feeling. So we got together a few guys, and we put together this band, and we didn't even know what we were. And we ended up backing up a folk singer, and we played a couple gigs, and we were like, "You guys hate this? Yeah, I hate this. We all hate this. Great. Okay, let's make a band that we all love." And we just started jamming, and we kind of came together, found a couple friends of friends, and got a singer from. Honestly, I think he was like from an open jam at O'Byrne's or something like that.
Right.
And we wrote a couple songs, and we ended up in this talent contest in St. Albert, and we went and played it, and we won. And there was a guy in the crowd who was booking the beer garden stage at Stage 13, which is like the Rock and Roll Big Valley back in the day. And he's like, "Hey, you guys want a beer garden slot opening for Vince Neil from Motley Crue?" And we're like, "Okay." And he's like, do you have 45 minutes worth of material? And we're like, "We have a song."
Can we do it over and
But
over?
we did it. We spent 3 weeks. We wrote a whole
Wow.
set, and we went. I think we didn't even play a cover. We might have played one cover. We went and played the show. And then we just had our feet under us. We started playing gigs. We had people flying up from Toronto to see us. And very soon we had a booking agent, and we were touring with bands like Billy Talent and 3 Days Grace and Metric and all these awesome bands. Thornley, Theory of a Dead Man. Not sure I said that one. And just kind of one thing led to another. And we started gaining a lot of fans in Edmonton. We started being able to sell like 1,000 tickets. Like we'd sell out Reds. It was such a weird time for music, though. Like 2007, 2008, that was when the industry was falling apart. So what a weird time
To have success.
Yeah, and you're coming of age, and there's no industry to come of age to.
Kind of bad timing.
Yeah, the worst timing, man. So, we'd have Atlantic, New York flying out to see us in Edmonton, and like Universal LA flying out to see us. These are people that have never even heard of Edmonton, Alberta, and they're coming out to see us. And every time we'd play a show, we'd talk to our manager, who was just like basically one of our buddies. And we're like, "What did they think? What did they think?" He's like, "They loved it, but everybody got fired last night." So,
Right. So there's no place for you.
There's one guy that loved it, and now he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, that can only happen so many times before I was just like, I got to figure this out on my own. So
Right.
I started figuring out how to, write grants and tour manage and do video editing and figure out how to record and figure out what publishing was. And so I started, it kind of led me to having a little bit of experience with literally every job in the music industry. And that kind of helped us. We just, all those mistakes along the way when you're young, you trip and you fall, but you figure it out the hard way. And we looked up and we were playing at Rexall Place in front of Bon Jovi one day. And it was pretty cool.
You know what? And again, all of these different roles that you had to take, I think probably the fact that you had your dad and all these other professionals in your life that taught you, how to kind of be a professional, because you needed to be a professional in other ways. It wasn't just grabbing the guitar and writing a song, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just it's not like it was very apparent that it wasn't the 80s anymore. You can't be Guns N' Roses and get drunk and write on a pizza box and get a check for $1 million. It's not. It just wasn't the world that I lived in, right? So
Right.
yeah, I knew that we kind of had to figure things out and kind of get in the trenches a little bit, and you have to love it. If you don't love doing that stuff, like we would play Nate in Edmonton on a Thursday night, jump in the van, drive straight to the Horseshoe in Toronto, and unload and play Saturday night. So we would just
Wow.
that's the kind of stuff we would do.
Okay, I'm glad you've got there, because we were on a bus a couple of weeks ago, coming back from coming back from Viking after we played hockey together for the CFCW Critters, and we'll get to the fact that you're now a morning man on that radio station. But you were talking about your road trips to Toronto. I want to talk about road trips, brought to you by Londonderry Dodge.
There you go.
How perfect is that?
Nice segue. You're a professional.
They're driven. They drive this show. Bailey and I both have the opportunity to drive beautiful vehicles from them, and they're absolutely fantastic. And I don't know if you were driving in a Dodge Ram at that time. I'm assuming it was like a van or something like that. But we got to thank Mitch and Jamie and everybody at Londonderry Dodge for being a part of this podcast and
Getting me to the basement studio.
Exactly.
It's a 25-minute drive.
Otherwise, she would have been hitchhiking with her baby and tow, and
It's a bad look for the podcast.
We have to look like professionals.
Somebody pay this girl.
or get her a vehicle to get here. Thank you, Londonderry Dodge. Road trips.
Road trips.
Yeah, you went on so many, and it is so far from Edmonton to Toronto, and you got used to it.
Yeah, I came to kind of love it. Like it was like. I would hate it now. Let's be real. Like I'm 40 years old now. That's not happening.
Yeah.
But in my young 20s, it's just getting in the van with your buddies and going on a road trip. It doesn't get better than that,
Yeah.
Like I was having fun. We crushed so many like Steven Seagal movies, and ate bad food, and had the time of our lives.
Who had the worst gas in Tupelo Honey?
Oh, I think that's quite clear that Greg Williamson, our drummer.
The drummers. It's always the
It's a
drummers,
drummer
isn't
thing.
it?
Yeah. He'll fight me on that, but yeah.
He who smelt it dealt it. Is that how it works?
Yeah, I mean, everyone was pretty open with who dealt it in that band. There was no mystery.
And did you write music along the way? Like you had so much time to kill. Were you doing any of that, or was it just no? We're watching movies, we're eating junk food, and then we're playing the shows.
See, that would have been a good idea.
Multitasking.
Where were you back then?
That's females. Multitaskers.
I was at my school dance.
Yeah, exactly.
Waiting for "Make Me Believe"
Yeah.
to be written.
That's actually really cool because we were like in our minds we were a heavy rock band,
Yeah.
but like having a song that crossed over and was #1 on 2 stations in Edmonton was kind of cool. Like that doesn't happen that often.
To be fair, in 2007, 2008, like the teens were very into rock music too,
Yeah.
like Billy Talent, all of that kind of stuff. Unfortunately for my father, he was like, "What are we doing here?" But I love that kind of stuff for sure. But Make Me Believe, it's a beautiful song.
This is good for my ego, Bailey. Keep it coming. This is nice.
Who is this Billy Talent you're talking about? Is Make
William Talent.
What kind of a song is "Make Me Believe"?
Have you not heard it?
Oh, it's a sweet little power ballad love song.
You know what I would kill for right now? I would kill for like even just one verse of it acoustically. Is that even possible?
Honestly, I don't know it anymore.
I could do it if you want.
I could probably play the guitar, but jeez, you can't put me on the spot like that.
We can insert a clip, maybe. Legally, I don't know if we can
Sure.
actually.
You have all the rights. Go
Okay,
for it.
we heard it here.
Can you imagine being so big that you can't even remember your big hits? Like,
Well, I can remember it, but there's no way I could do a good job of it right now in front of you on the podcast.
in front of her with the pressure.
In front of a super fan.
Okay, so you open for Bon Jovi. Tupelo Honey is doing its thing. And at what point in your life do you come to the right side and become a country music guy? Was that something? Okay, Dallas Smith, for example. You know the Dallas Smith story.
Of course.
Dallas was with Default and the rock thing, and then he decided to cross over to the right way with country music. What was your story? What was your experience, and what got you to this point?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Dallas because he was a big part of my decision to come to the bright side.
Yeah.
I remember going to see, because we tour at Default all the time. Like for years we toured at Default. And so I knew Dallas. I've known Dallas since like 2005. And we were at a show somewhere backstage. And I remember him saying like, yeah, this like Keith Urban kind of stuff. I could do that, I think. And I was like, yeah, you probably could. And years later, he's like the biggest Canadian country artist. And I went to see him opening for Florida Georgia Line. And he sent me a message like, yeah, come to this after party. You can kind of just see what this is all about. And there's Dallas sitting in a bar, probably getting paid handsomely to just hang out and have beers with his friends. And I was like, okay, I'm listening, country music. And
you're calling my name.
And then I was asking him about it because Tupelo was kind of winding down. And I was like, what do you think? Like, is this something I should look into? And I love this quote. He was like, you know what? You got the right voice for it. You got the right name. And I went, yeah, Dan Davidson. That sounds like a pair of jeans. Like, I'll have a Dan Davidson in a size 30, please.
Either jeans or a drink or something like that. Yeah. And not a stage name. That's your real name.
I've got a funny story about that, too.
Okay.
But anyway, so Dallas said that to me, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I recorded a song, and I had some people in at Big Valley, so they slapped me on the beer garden stage and kind of got my feet under me. And then my second song, it took off. Like it hit the ground running. Found was the #1 selling independent song in Canada, and it quickly went gold, and now it's platinum, and it's kind of marching towards double platinum, which is bizarre. It's so bonkers to me that I can say that about something I'm attached to. So that song changed my life. Country music changed my life.
So you found the right song.
Found the right song, and I think I found my brand a little bit with that song too. Like I think after all these years of doing this, I look back and be like, what do people care about me? Like, why do they like me? And what's happening? What's resonating?
Yeah.
I think it's get drunk and fall in love songs.
Yeah.
I think that's what people dig about the Dan Davidson stuff. So
Right.
That's not a bad idea.
Quite often you need to get drunk to fall in love. So
Well, I mean, you don't want to have to, but sometimes.
Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it helps.
Okay, now I'm scared to ask because it's another big hit, but this would be a perfect opportunity for you to do a little Found.
Okay, Found I can do because that one is so ingrained in my brain that I can't forget it.
I would hope so.
Okay, while I pick up this guitar and try not to bump this mic stand.
Okay.
I'll tell you my stage name story. So I was in Nashville. As you know, you've been to Nashville, Chris. You know it's Davidson County down there, right?
Yeah.
I met this guy who was also named Dan, and he saw me, and I think he realized what my last name was, and he's like, "Oh, come on!" I was like, "What? What's the problem?" That was going to be my stage name, Dan Davidson.
Oh no!
And I was like, "Oh, jeez, I didn't think it was that cool of a name. I thought it was a pretty plain white guy name." But
It's very Nashville for sure.
yeah. All right, I'll play.
All right,
I'll play
the
it,
one and
Founds.
only Dan Davidson and Found.
That's right. Here we go.
All right.
It's a lot of yelling, so prepare yourself.
Okay, we're ready.
Well, it might be the whiskey talking, might be the wine, but I think that I found someone I can settle down with. All my life, once bitten and twice shy. I've been through the worst, now I wanna make you mine. I've been wandering all alone. I've been broke down, I've been stoned, walking in circles, speaking in tongues. Laid my eyes upon you and I came undone. Won't you marry me in the back 40 by the rusty truck in the maple tree? Country house and a family, we can have that beautiful life. Well, it might be the whiskey talking, might be the wine, but I think that I found someone I can settle down with. All my life I've been running from the light, only darkness till you came around. Now I've been found, I've been found. Left that heartache in the past, hold you in my arms and we'll look back and laugh. Won't you marry me in the back 40 by the rusty truck and the maple tree? Country house and a family, we can have that beautiful life. Well, it might be the whiskey talking, might be the wine, but I think that I found someone I can settle down with. All my life I've been running from the light, only darkness till you came around. Now I've been found, I've been found. Well, life on the farm is kinda laid back, ain't nothing but a country boy like me can't act. Early in the rise, early in the sack. Thank God I'm a country boy. Well, simple kind of life never did me no harm. Raising me a family and working on the farm. Days are all filled with an easy country charm. Thank God I'm a country boy. Well, I got me a fine wife, got me old fiddle. When the sun's coming up, I got cakes on the griddle. Life ain't nothing but a funny, funny riddle. Won't you marry me in the back 40 by the rusty truck and the maple tree? Country house and a family, we can have that beautiful life. Well, it might be the whiskey talking, might be the wine, but I think that I found someone I can settle down with. All my life I've been running from the light, only darkness till you came around. Now I've been found, I've been found. Well, it might be the whiskey talking, might be the wine, but I think that I found someone I can settle down with. All my life, once bitten and twice shy. I've been through the worst, now I wanna make you mine.
Dan Davidson. And a little John Denver. You know,
Yeah, I like
that
the
mashup?
mashup.
That was awesome. It is scary the way all the veins in your neck pop out like Incredible
telling me.
Hulk. I was like, I'm ready for him to rip his shirt off.
I mean, the 33-degree temperature doesn't help.
Yeah, I know.
that
If there was no video,
that
I might have not worn pants.
I'm glad you mentioned video. What did the video cost to make that song?
Well, you know, when you're early on in your career and you don't have a lot of money, you gotta get a little creative. Luckily, one of my best buds is a video director, it's Travis Nesbitt from the band Social Code, which you might remember
Yeah.
from back in the day. And I was
He
like,
doesn't even look at me when he says that. I like that.
who you have no idea about.
Okay, yes.
So Social Code, Travis kind of stumbled into making videos because I needed videos, and I knew he kind of was good at camera stuff, and I was like, okay, let's just sit down. I got $500. What can we do? And we sat with like a napkin and a couple pens, and the only word written on the napkin was mascots. So we just rented a bunch of mascot costumes, dressed my friends up like a bunch of idiots, turned on the cameras, CMT, top 10.
There you go.
It's funny how that works sometimes.
And that's not where it stopped for you. We're in April. We're heading to Japan. We're going to Tokyo. I'm hosting a trip with Network Travel. Book your trip to come with us now. Free plug for them. But you've done video work in Tokyo, haven't you?
That was amazing. I can't believe my wife let me do that, by the way.
Yeah.
Like I had a baby, probably your baby's age. Like she was like just a wee little thing. And I needed a video because Found had done well and Barn Burner was coming out. And so Travis and I had got a little grant, a little money, and we were brainstorming and he said, you know what? Let's just make this like a travel video. We'll like go to Hawaii or something and we'll just film it on the beach and we'll bring the wives and it'll be this great time. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. I mean, it's
got my attention.
Kind of generic, but it'll be a fun vacation. and I was just explaining that idea to my wife and the phone rang again and it was Travis and he goes, "We're going to Japan." Click. And he calls me back, "Tell your wife she can't come." Click. So I explained that one to Jen, and somehow she let me do it. I think she was seeing that something was happening with the country career, so we're kind of trying to take some big swings. But the video concept, like our whole thing with videos and some of our best videos have been the ones where we lean on the scenery rather than like what I'm doing or like, you know, the storyline. It's about the scenery, something cool to look at.
Right.
So we went to Tokyo. We dressed me head to toe like a combination of like Elton John and John Wayne. Just like the tightest, grossest fitting white cowboy outfit. And in Japan, downtown Tokyo, they don't see a lot of that.
No, I don't imagine.
So the whole video was just us watching people watch me thinking I was the weirdest person they'd ever seen. I was so nervous.
This isn't New York. This isn't this isn't Manhattan, right? Like, you know, I mean, again, there's strange things, Superman and all this stuff's happening there. This is not happening in Tokyo.
A much more respectful culture.
I would suggest.
You're
not even supposed to like have a soda drink when you're walking down the street. So then you're going and doing this.
As Elton John Wayne.
Elton John Wayne.
It's kind of a good drag queen name.
So if my country career fails,
maybe the next evolution.
I'll be back on the podcast for a new reason. You know what was funny though? The first day I was so nervous, and I found Sapporo. I got a little buzz on, and we got the shots.
I feel like many moments in your career that you've described so far have been based on having a couple drinks with your friends.
It's crazy though. Like honestly, I was never a guy that loved the spotlight growing up, and like I hated speaking in school. I hated getting up in front of the class.
Behind the scenes guy.
Yeah, and it's so funny falling into the thing where I have to be the center of attention at all times in my own career, and it's really like taught me a lot about confidence and, you know, trying to read people and, you know, work in a room, and it's just, honestly, it's what a great skill that's been.
Which is the way I started this by saying you're like the coolest guy that doesn't know you're cool. I mean, that's it. I want to talk a little bit about Tokyo. What can I expect when we go there? My friend Pat, who you know as well, Pat Galenza.
Oh yeah.
He was telling me on the same bus trip because he went to Tokyo last year with his daughter. He said, Chris, the trip was unbelievable. Everything, they went to Tokyo Disney, which we're planning to do. But he said his favorite part of the trip was the $1.50 egg salad sandwiches at the 7-Eleven. He said, I have never had a better egg salad sandwich, and it was $1.50.
That is kind of gross. You should pay more than $1.50 for an egg salad sandwich, as a rule in your life.
Yeah.
But,
what could I mean?
First off, the sushi was incredible.
See, I'm not a fish guy. That's my
okay.
So
but you've got to try it.
I'm gonna have.
Yeah, even just like, you know, some gentle sushi. Just touch your toe in the
An
water.
avocado roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
right.
the restaurants are incredible, and it's like we were in a couple different areas. We were in Shibuya and Shinjuku, I think. And Shibuya Crossing is that one. This is actually kind of a hilarious story. We're talking about, it's such a respectful culture, except for there.
You found your people?
Yeah. So like at any point in time, every time the light turns, 5,000 people cross the street. So it's like, it's just pure insanity. And I was running out into the crosswalk trying to play guitar and like getting video. So that's in the video. But we happened to come across like a group of 40 people driving go-karts on the road dressed as Mario Kart characters. I was like, this could not be better for this music video. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So that was pretty cool. But we had, I'm just telling Tokyo stories now, but
there was
this guy, American guy came up to us, and he could see that we were obviously weirdos. And he was like, hey, I got a hotel up there. You guys want to come up and take a look from up high? And I was like, this sounds like something my parents warned me about a long time ago.
Don't go with the man.
What would the judge say?
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have approved. But it was 3 of us and one of him. So we went up and we got the shot from the aerial shot, and that was it.
But still,
nothing happened.
Nope, there was no murders.
No murders. I'm still here. Everything's good.
Yeah.
Don't have to show you on the doll or
And
anything.
your wife didn't murder you for going to Tokyo and also canceling her Hawaiian vacation.
I know. I'm brutal, but she was good sport about it, and it was a pretty quick trip. Like now, what's funny is like I used to love I'd go away for however long it took, but now my scheduling is so different with 2 kids. I'm looking at the clock, and now I got a radio thing that I'm trying to not get fired from too. So I'm looking at I'm trying to. These trips are tight. Like sometimes if I'm traveling for a music video or something, we fly one day, we shoot for 13 hours the next day, and I fly home the next day.
Your time wasn't as precious back then, but now it is, right?
You don't have time to drive to Toronto.
Yeah. Who would do that?
The fact that we even got you to do this, we really appreciate. Well, you mentioned the radio thing. Let's go into that. All right? Radio guy.
Who would have thunk, hey?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny. This is the story on how it happened.
Yeah.
So I have this concert series called Heartstrings and Honky Tonks, where we do,
which we also want to promote.
Yeah,
yes.
let's built-in plug here for Dan. So essentially, it's like the idea was, me and Clayton Bellamy from the Road Hammers, we're always talking about how we want to be on the road and playing more shows, not just in the summer. And a big part of what the agents do is they pick up the phone when the phone rings, and that's typically in Canada. That's the big festivals, but. I want to stay busier than that, and Clay and I were brainstorming ways we could do that without hemorrhaging money, and one of the ways was doing these songwriter things, and I was like, okay, but everyone kind of does a songwriter thing. How can we make this different and cooler and better? And we just kind of came up with this concept where it's like a little bit of the Bluebird, so you get that songs and stories vibe, that intimate connection with the artist, but also it's the Opry. So we partnered with CFCW, and they're doing the live broadcast, which I don't even know if that's been done in Canada before.
Right.
So that was really special, and there's live ad reads, and Jackie Ray's the host of the whole thing, and she's great. And so we sold out 5 theaters last year, and to promote that, Greg Shannon had just left the radio station, and Stella in the morning, she was on vacation. So Jackie Ray, our program director, was there kind of doing the morning show, and she invited me to come down and hang out for a couple days and, pump the tires on my show, and just somebody to bounce. I just figured I'll be comic relief for a couple days. And it is what it is. And we did it, and I said bye and thanks. And later she called me that week, and she was like, how do you feel doing this for a gig? I'd never considered it, but I did tell her, I'm an artist too. Is this gonna work? And she's been so great. Whenever you're not on tour, not on the road, you're here in the morning, and I'm good.
Yeah. Well, and Clayton Bellamy, it's ironic because years ago when I was running Kissin', I brought him in as a radio announcer for us too.
That's right.
Because again, Clayton is brilliant, and he's funny, and he's and he's not necessarily radio. You're not you didn't grow up being a radio announcer, so you don't have the radio voice like I do. Brought to you by Londonderry Dodge.
Yeah, I know.
But
I can't turn that on.
But that's what makes it cool and unique and different, and kind of what people are looking for. So
well, that's what my wife was saying. She was like, so why you? And I was like,
which is really a nice thing for a wife to say. What a vote of confidence.
I know. And I was kind of saying, like, I think they like me because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. I'm not sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite part of being on the radio so far, or something that has surprised you about it?
I'm a morning person, so I love being up that early anyway, and
that makes one of us.
Yeah, you did it for long enough. You put in your time. But I think I like being in radio stations. I like talking to people. I like connecting the dots. Like that's my favorite part of the music industry in general, is just kind of connecting with people. Mm-hmm. I think there's something special about that in music, and it's something that not all jobs allow you to do. And this allows us to do that. Like we get regular callers all the time. We get to do contests, and it helps me connect to Edmonton a lot more. And that's my hometown, and it feels good to do that.
Do you ever sneak your own songs into the rotation?
I don't have the power, but I
They
do.
don't let him near. They do not let him near the computer.
Hey, but it's 5 a.m. You're like, we have some space here.
Oh no! If it was up to me, I do sometimes get to come off the back of my own song and be like, Canadian national treasure, Alberta icon, and Edmonton's favorite son, Dan Davidson. There, gotta pump my own tires once in a while.
Of course.
Where was I going? Oh yeah, callers. You say callers that call a radio station, the people that call every day, right? And they you're like literally their best friend.
Yeah, we did a listener event and a bunch of people came down and it was like playing Guess Who, like trying to figure out which face belonged to the mystery card.
Yes,
and
you never, and it's just like, and well, yours in a different case, but when the first 25 years of my career, first 20 years of my career, there was no social media, so people didn't know who I was. But then they'd come to an event and they'd meet me and they'd say, no, that's not you. Like I had a different image of what you look like. I had to show one person my driver's license. They refused to believe that I was Chris Scheetz from the radio, right?
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. So, but it's the same thing when you meet these people. It's like they talk to you, they phone you every day, and then you meet them. You're like, that is not at all what I expected.
It's funny when you meet somebody and they look at you and you go, huh, I thought you were taller.
Yeah. I thought you had more hair in my case, right? Yeah, exactly.
They make you out to be whoever they want you to be.
Oh, that's true. You're their buddy.
Yeah.
They will tell you all kinds of dirty jokes. I get a lot of that in the morning.
Yeah.
Some weird dirty joke morning people.
Yeah, like I understand why they don't take live callers anymore. You know, like that's just a dangerous game to play,
especially nowadays. Yeah, for sure. You know what? Let's talk about. Let's talk about your family. The fact that have a drink of your
a little Diet Coke here, guys.
If they were smart,
Yes.
they'd sponsor this thing.
When in Rome.
Let's both do it. There's no rum in there, I promise. Let's talk about the family. The fact that let's start here. Let's start last night. You didn't get much sleep.
Yeah, it was a rough one. It's funny with kids, hey? Like, I don't know if Bailey and if you and your brother are very similar, you guys find that you're opposite poles?
Opposite, yeah. Completely opposite.
That's what my kids are like too.
Which is good in some ways. I felt that we didn't fight a lot because we had almost nothing in common to fight about. You know, I feel like if you're always going after the same toys or the same things, then you're fighting. But it was like, oh, we're such different people that we got along. I don't know if that's the case with your daughters.
Okay, so before you tell us about last night, tell us about your kids.
Okay, well, so Georgia, the 11-year-old, she's like
like a great name, Georgia.
Good country music name.
Love it. Yeah.
So she's a very shy kid, very mindful, very sensitive, very empathetic, and she just has a lot of big feelings. She has a few worries out there. So that's the parenting strategy for her. And our youngest one is just like elbow off the top rope, college frat boy, kick down the doors.
Her name?
Juliet.
Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful name.
She is hilarious. She's just like so much fun and always happy and just sleeps great, wakes up happy, and Georgia sleeps terribly and needs 10 minutes.
And worries the sky is falling.
I think that's eldest daughter syndrome, though. They do say the firstborn girl often like takes on a lot of worries and like they're trying to
Yeah, so they're both so sweet and they bring so much happiness to our lives. And it's funny to see these little microcosms of yourself. I'm sure you'll start to see that soon with your little baby. But so they're very different. And they're so amazing in their own individual ways, and we love it. It's just like it's such an adventure. Yeah. They're old. Like Georgia's 11, and I still look at her and go, I got T-shirts older than you. How is that possible? What does that say about my fashion?
But you're a big time girl dad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like I can French braid. I got all the tricks.
Yeah. Well, you spent because of your schedule. You get a chance to spend when they were growing up. You got to spend some really quality time with them that maybe a 9-to-5 person wouldn't have, right?
Yeah, and it's so funny that you say that. I was having this conversation the other day, and like as a musician, people assume you're like this like deadbeat dad, never home kind of thing. But honestly, I got way more 9-to-5 hours with my girls than a lot of guys I know.
Picking up, dropping off for school, doing all that stuff, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like when Georgia was little, going to kindergarten, grade 1, it was a big lift because she was very emotional, didn't want to leave dad. So it was a lot of tearful mornings, and sometimes even for me, just me and this sea of moms, and I would just like be walking, and they'd be patting me on the back. So funny. Like, and now, like, fast forward, Georgia's in grade 6. I show up for pickup, and like I'm wearing my like knee-length coat and my Carhartt toque and my sunglasses, dressed the exact same as 10 moms on the playground. Like, it's just osmosis. I am a mom
with your Starbucks cup.
But now with the radio gig, things are different. So I obviously can't do morning drop-offs, which is great because it forces my wife to. And she's got a family company, so she's hyper what would you call it, entrepreneur. So she really wants that to succeed. So this gave her a chance to have an excuse that she needed to step back and allow her to have those times that I think she was she was sad that she was missing those morning drop-offs.
Right.
So it's the pendulum swings the other way now, and she kind of does the heavy lifting on the school stuff. So
I got to do morning drop-offs for many years because I was working the afternoon show, and our son, lots of feels, same thing. Bailey was fine, but dropping him off at school, it was very obvious that if I crumbled or crushed, like cracked at all, he was coming home with me.
Oh yeah.
So you had.
Oh, look at that snow day.
So you had to be tough dad, like because it was just like I say, he was starting to tear up as we were getting closer to the school, and I was starting to tear up. But I'm just like, no, I know if we start this is going to be very, very difficult. And then once he got there, it was all good. Right?
That's always how it is. It was funny though. I used to do a thing like when our oldest was going in. This might be a good future tip for you here, Bailey.
Okay.
When she was going into classroom, she was like, "Daddy, can I have something of yours to hold for the day?" I'm like, "Okay, God." So like some days she'd take my toque, and then one day I had a guitar pick in my pocket, so I gave her my guitar pick, and it worked. She loved it, and her friends thought it was cool. So I made her I drilled a hole in it, and I put a little pink string on it, made her a necklace.
Yeah.
And it was such a hit that the next day she's like, "Can you make my friends Emily and Harper a necklace?" So I made 2 more. Then I had an order for 40 the next day.
Wow.
Like the Taylor Swift bracelets.
The friendship bracelets. Yeah.
You started that.
So that's
Wow.
There it is. I'm a trendsetter.
Maybe that's your next evolution as jewelry maker.
I know. There's a lot of weird ways I could go. I could get into Elton John, Wayne. I could be a jewelry maker.
Okay, let's talk your mom, your wife, and the fact that
Sometimes she thinks she's my mom.
yeah, and she probably is, just like my wife is. Entrepreneur. Shout out for what she does. Give her a promo here.
She's got a company called Dynaline Industries that's on the west side of town, and her dad started it, and she's done every job there. She's worked there since she's 14, so she knows it inside and out, and she's just like nonstop, always proving herself, finding better ways to level up the company, and yeah, she's just such a hard worker. Degree in international business, and just crushes it. So yeah, she also helped launch a second family company they have called Night Rider LEDs on 184th Street there. And so yeah, she got that company up and running, and then kind of moved back to the second in command role over at Dynaline until her dad retires. He's down in Palm Springs 6 months of the year anyway, so she's kind of steering the ship.
I wonder if Dynaline wants to sponsor a podcast. Just a question.
Well, maybe.
Just a question. How long have you guys been together?
So we are like that Hallmark kind of zone where we started dating at 19, and so we got married in 2010. So here we are, 15 years this year.
Yeah.
So we've been together. You know what's weird is when you've been with somebody, you hit that threshold where you've been with somebody longer than you haven't.
Yes.
That's like a whole new thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you don't know life without her.
Yeah. And honestly, yeah, I'm really lucky because like with my career path and
So
some of the
supportive.
things, there's no planning. There's nothing you can count on in a music career. Now, things are a little more stable in my life because I've been doing it for so long and found that river of nickels. But it's trying. It's really hard on a spouse of somebody in the music industry.
But again, her dad, right, successful businessman. So you're going to marry this music guy
In a
are you?
rock band. The guy in a rock
Great.
band.
Could we maybe, have you heard of Tinder?
You swiped left. You should have swiped right. Now we actually went to high school together too. So there you go. It's like a real St. Albert old people story.
Okay, well that's cool. We've talked about the radio station. You're up for awards, the Alberta Country Music Awards. I want to do a shout out for that event. It's happening March 1st and 2nd in Calgary.
Yeah.
I once hosted it in Red Deer. I say once. They never had me back. I guess that's kind of a
You
reflection.
set the bar too high.
You know who's hosting it this year?
Who?
Somebody who was on the show just a couple of weeks ago, Ashley Collingwood.
Oh, is she? Yeah, she was there last year too, and she did
Yeah.
a great job.
I wonder why they would go with her instead of you. That's interesting.
It's the evening gown portion of the competition that he lost, I think.
Have you seen me in a bikini? I'm just saying.
Unfortunately, no, I haven't. I swear.
Yeah, we played hockey together. We were in the shower.
That's even worse.
Dan has never felt better about himself. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty cool. The awards and the things like that. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not why you did it, but why you got into the business. But it's a cool thing.
Yeah, somebody once said, and it resonated with me. That's like, it's nice. Like, music isn't football, though. You can't win music. It's all subjective, and you want to just just be happy that you get a nomination, whatever. I've been nominated for the CCMAs like 15 times, and I'm come to grips with the fact that I'll probably never win one.
Right.
But CMABs is really cool because it's our province, it's our little scene here, it's our microcosm, and there's some great names in my Male Artist of the Year category. Cor Blund, who's like my country music hero. I love the guy.
Yes.
And Aaron Goodman and Brett Kissel and Gord Bamford. So a lot of heavy hitters in that category.
Alberta country music, right? I mean, it's a strong, strong group of people.
I mean, it's here or Ontario. I think that's where the real muscle is in Canada as far as country music.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, for sure it is. We do have a partner. Edmonton Pet Expo is coming up on March 8th and 9th. And I got a direct message from Louise. She said, hey, we love what you guys are doing with the podcast, and we'd love to get involved. And so what I'd like to say is that people that believe in us, please believe in them and support them. And Edmonton Pet Expo is coming, and it's this giant thing that's happening those 2 days at the Expo Center. And I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to remind you that that's coming up on March 8th and 9th, and then ask Dan about his favorite pet.
He might not be there at the Pet Expo.
He might not be at Pet Expo, and it's not because he doesn't like animals, but
If they had a human-sized hamster ball, I could probably attend. I'm like so allergic to the world. Like it's the recipe for the world's worst country music singer. Like allergic to hay, allergic to dogs, allergic to horses, allergic to dust.
I'm allergic to barley for beer.
Yeah, that's okay. I can handle that. I remember going to the CFR one time, and like my wife was, "Are you sure you're gonna be okay in there?" And I was like, "Oh, you got nosebleed tickets. It'll be fine."
Yeah.
Within like 13 seconds, it was just like,
You had nosebleeds.
oh, it was awful. But I've had so many stories like this too. I remember there was one year for Christmas, my wife and I we just decided we were just gonna do dates for Christmas instead of like things.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this would be great. We'll go on this romantic like cutter sleigh ride in middle of winter, and just the dude out there is smoking. We got a horse blanket on us. We're sitting behind a huge Clydesdale.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was like 6 seconds in. I was like, all right, that was good. Super romantic. Let's go home.
My throat is closing, so we're gonna have to leave.
Get me the EpiPen.
Yeah. So I don't have a pet. I probably won't attend Pet Expo. I do have a goldfish.
Yeah.
But I have zero attachment to it. I'll flush them tonight if you want.
That's probably the best way to approach having a goldfish.
My wife says, like, nah, nice try. You love that fish. Maybe I do.
What was the name of our fish? We had a goldfish.
Goldberg.
Goldberg, the
That's
goldfish.
a good name.
Yes.
And he lived for like 4 years or something.
Like it felt like 10 years, but I know I was a
Yeah.
kid, so time is different. He was the longest living goldfish, and when that goldfish did pass away, that was a family tragedy.
It was a
Did you
bad.
stuff
Oh.
them and put them up on the mantle?
We should have, because that I was not a part of the flushing. But
Oh, you
that-
flushed them.
I
Okay.
think so.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Yeah.
So we don't flush the fish.
No.
My kids won't allow it.
Right.
But this is something completely weird that I do. I'm going to let you in
Okay.
on my secret. You're going to think I'm a serial killer. So when the fish dies in the winter, we can't bury them, and the kids won't
Right.
let us flush them. So
Right.
I wrap them up in paper towel, put them in a Ziploc bag, put them in the freezer,
Yeah.
and we bury them in spring.
Oh,
Problem-
that's kind of nice.
It's nice. It's in thought, in
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah.
Problem is, 3 years later, when you forget all these fish, like they got a massive fish graveyard in the backyard. It's really hard to explain to the kids what's going on. Just dump them in the hole and we'll say something. I don't know.
Do you guys say something usually?
Yeah, oh yeah, we have a little funeral for him, of course.
Georgia does, because she's the
She's-
sweet one.
Good call.
I can already tell that you are attached to the fish. That's
Yeah.
nice.
I
That's
do.
nice.
I take big pride in naming them. We had a whole bunch of them. It was actually when Georgia was born.
Yeah.
We got a little tiny tropical tank, and we got all these guppies, and I named them after rappers. We had like 50 Cent.
50 cents.
We had Fishy Elliott. We had Snoop Frog.
It's pretty good. What is the current goldfish?
His name is Twindy.
Twindy.
It's not a real name, but it's a name that children seem to like. There's a time I named them after my friends. Like this one's called Steve Vincent. Give them full names, the last name, and everything.
All right. Well, Dan Davidson will not be at the Edmonton
Hey,
Pet Expo.
maybe they have a goldfish or something.
I bet they do.
Oh, they do. They got everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Can't
Yeah.
be
Place
allergic
to be.
goldfish.
Can you teach your goldfish any tricks or no?
I wish I could. You know, sometimes there was one time where you take the top off to clean the tank, and they're just like
The
disgusting.
tank
animals,
is
right?
like, yeah.
And so I took the tank lid off, was cleaning it, put it back on. Tank looked great. I went out and I had a show somewhere out of town.
Yeah.
And then my wife called me. She's like, "Where is Grande?" Who was a fish at the time. was like, what do you mean? He's probably in his little house or something. I guess he jumped out while I was cleaning the tank.
That happens.
And so my wife was covering for me, and the girls were asking where the fish was. And they're like, oh, he's just in his little house there. And then she called me, get home and figure this out. So I get home.
Pick up another grande.
Yeah. We had a toy bin kind of sitting underneath the tank, like underneath the stand. And I thought he was in there. So I'm looking through the tank. I pulled it out. And there it was, 3 days later, dried goldfish on the hardwood floor. Found myself at midnight chipping a goldfish off the floor. So yeah, this is parenting, everybody.
And then putting him into the deep freeze.
I live a weird life, Chris.
It's glamorous. The glamorous life of a musician.
Yeah, it's odd.
All right, let's talk about our love, everybody in this room's love for the Edmonton Oilers.
You can't not. I mean, you're born into it.
Yeah.
And they're looking good this year.
They are looking good this year.
Making moves over there. Yeah. And you
yeah.
talked me into this is the first thing you talked me into. Second thing, I guess.
Yeah.
In the big song.
Yeah. So there was a song during the playoff run, and they didn't quite get there, but the song was fantastic. And it still resonates, because we want the cup here.
It's the truth. And it was so I basically took my song Warm Beer.
Yeah.
I took the lyrics off and I kind of just wrote some alternate lyrics to it. And I don't know if they played it at the games. I think they might have a couple times.
I think we were pushing for that. If we only knew somebody that worked in the organization, Bailey.
Come on, Bailey. Get on it.
I'm on maternity leave this year.
Send an email or something. I don't know.
But
I don't have the power to play music.
Yeah, but I think that just for good luck for the Oilers as they get into March and April, and it's funny because I'm going to be in Tokyo the first round of the playoffs. I've already figured out that it'll be noon the next day in Tokyo, so I'll be able to watch the games.
Perfect time for a game.
Which would be, I don't know if there'll be a lot of people in Tokyo watching the Oilers, but I'll be fine.
Probably not. You might have a hard time finding it in the bar or something.
But is it downtown Tokyo, whatever it's called? But it's kind of got like a Vegas, New York kind of feel. They got giant screens. Maybe I can get it up on one of those. What do you think?
I'd be impressed.
Crush some sushi and watch the Oilers. That's like my dream.
Yeah, that is a good day. The good day at the office. Yeah, it's man, it's so exciting. Like I got to go. I remember I go to playoff games sometimes. There was one game I got to go to that I'll never forget. It was a radio guy from Winnipeg called me, and he was like, hey, I'm doing this contest. And this is when Winnipeg didn't have a team.
Yeah.
We're hitchhiking to Edmonton, and I have an extra ticket to this game tonight. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, yes, I would love to go to a playoff game.
Yeah.
Ran out of the house, and I kicked the wall as I was leaving, and I broke 3 toes. And I was like, oh, my God, this hurts so much. But I got there, and I was like, it'll be okay. I'll just sit in the seats. Game's over. Tomorrow I'll go to the doctor or whatever.
Right.
Get there. Standing room tickets.
Oh, no.
5 overtime periods. It was like a 5-hour game. It was against San Jose, I don't know, the 2006 run.
Yes,
probably.
it was a long game.
I remember that
It was
game.
a long game, and you stood the whole time?
Stood the whole time. So, I go through pain for that team.
A lower body injury.
Yeah, I could have been out.
You know how you got home that night?
I took a cab.
No, tow truck.
Tow truck. You're certified dad over there, Chris Scheetz. Certifiable.
Can you play a little bit of that song for us?
Sure,
The
yeah.
Oilers song,
Let's see if I can remember. It's it's always, this one bakes my brain a little bit because it's always
because you've got 2 versions of it, right?
Yeah. So I was running it in the car on the way here. I was like, he's probably gonna make me play that. Isn't he?
You knew.
All right. Okay. Well, here's my attempt at it.
Yeah, it's fine. It'll be good.
Let me just think about the first line.
Okay,
I got it. All right, here we go.
Remember, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid are watching.
Oh God.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I'm sure they are. Yes.
This one's for you, Connie. I don't care if I spill my Rogers Place beer. When the goal line turns to red, we always sing La Bamba here. 91, 97, 29 ain't the price of gas. It's a well-oiled machine that you're gonna see blowing right past. We want the cup here, back home for the Oilers fans. We're gonna have a long hangover when it's lifted up in Connor's hands. From every 780 back road to White Ave, all you gonna hear. We want the Stanley Cup here. Nobody's gonna sing the anthem like we do. We bleed red and white, sometimes a little orange and blue. I don't remember this part. You want to ad-lib?
I don't know what to say besides they're awesome, and we want the cup here.
We want the cup here, back home for the Oilers fans. We're gonna have a long hangover when it's lifted up in Connor's hands. From every 780 back road to White Ave, all you gonna hear. We want the Stanley Cup here. Yeah. Woo.
With a feature.
Something like that. A little freestyle jazz. Just a little William Shatner style voiceover.
All they need is 2 more goals this year, and they got it, right?
No, this is going to be it.
Just 2 more goals.
Got me fired up.
Really quick, the one thing that we didn't talk about, I wanted to talk about. So your daughter, anyway, she goes to a movie with Grandma last night, and they go see a movie, and you know how those grandmas are. They, hype them up on candy. So then it was this Juliet or Georgia?
This is Juliet. She's got the sensitive stomach. Yeah.
She comes home after that, and all night long she's like a Jiffy Pop. She's just popping it out.
Poor kid. Like I feel so bad for her. Like I could eat a phone book and I'd be fine.
Yeah,
but like she...
stomach like a dog.
Yeah, I know.
Although you're allergic.
Yeah. Stomach like a hypoallergenic dog.
But Labradoodle.
Stomach like a goldfish.
There you go. Poor Juliet though. I don't know if it was a popcorn, but yeah, she was up from like 1 till 6, just every hour. Nothing in there. Poor kid. She just looks like a zombie today.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll make her. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make her watch my kids show again. Maybe that'll get her going. We gotta talk about the kids show.
Okay.
Nice.
Go.
Because I have to send this to you, Bailey. You can test it on your
Okay.
kid when she's old enough.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have a show. Haven't I told you about this?
No.
Okay. Well, I should have put that on my notes to you there.
Okay.
So my friend Travis and I, who does all my videos,
Yeah.
we share a studio together, and we've always got a harebrained idea, as you can probably tell by
Yeah.
the theme of our music videos.
Yeah.
And so we put them into pitch decks, and we have all these shows and pitch decks. And Travis met a guy who kind of owned a production studio, and he pitched this idea we had for a kids show called Dan Sandwich.
Yeah.
Great name.
Yeah.
And the guy loved it, and so he funded a pilot for this show we have. And the show is complete insanity. It's like the Muppets meets Yo Gabba Gabba, and there's all kinds of jokes for the parents, and it's very puppet heavy.
Okay.
So I've got this great show, and there's a lot of big networks that are kind of sniffing around and interested in it. So we're starting to film our first full season, and if it all falls apart, I'm the proud owner of about $30,000 worth of puppets and mascots. It's just like one more thing for me to try and explain to my kids one day about what my job is.
A kids show. That's cool.
It's really fun.
Who's the best puppet?
Pamela Anderson is her name. She's an 8-foot chunk of ham with a bone sticking out of her head. Yeah.
She just like the real Pamela Anderson doesn't wear makeup.
She doesn't wear makeup.
No.
She's quite impressive. Very attractive.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
Dan Sandwich.
It's pretty wild. We got musical guests, and we had a local rock band. Royal Tusk is our first guest on the show, and they were hilarious. And yeah, like it's at the end of the day, we're 4 musicians, 40-year-old musicians sitting around making a kids show, and we're always looking at ourselves like, what are we doing? But it's honestly, I'm so proud of it, and it's probably going to be coming out next year, and we're getting down to shooting this March.
Have the girls approved of it?
They love it.
Yeah?
They love it.
Okay. You have your own test audience.
I know.
That's perfect.
Wow. Well, you know what? There's a reason why you guys are doing a kids show, because you are still just
mentally 13. Thanks, Chris. Thank you.
And I'm there with you. I kept Pamela Anderson.
That's funny.
I cannot wait to see it. We could talk to you. Getting into the brain of Dan Davidson could be
I feel like this is just scratching the surface.
A 5-hour.
I'm still working on getting into the brain of Dan Davidson.
This has been just amazing. We just remind everybody that if you download it, that's great, of course. Download it on all of the different platforms. You can also watch it. You can see
YouTube.
Dan. You can see why this guy's so cool. And
You can see the veins popping out of his forehead when he's singing.
Incredible Hulk. And more out of his neck.
Yeah, well, it's only when I'm in a 30-degree furnace room singing.
It's very specific.
In close quarters to some friends.
Lou Ferrigno is. You don't even know who that is.
Incredible Hulk.
The Hulk, yeah.
Version
you
1.
do?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And Dan, where can people find you?
Well, DanDavidsonMusic.com, and all the social media stuff is at It's Dan Davidson. And my home address is as
Your social insurance number?
Here's a list of my fears and my home address.
Just St. Albert. Just start knocking on doors.
Where can they find you?
Is the mayor of St. Albert here? Probably take you to Jackie Ray Greening's house.
All right, next week, he's been asked by many of you, and he is going to do it whether he wants to or not.
Yeah, this is a TBD.
Yeah, my son Carter is going to be part of this thing. He did a question years ago. I don't know if you remember when he did Carter's question when he was a little boy. People still talk about that. He's now an Edmonton firefighter, and they're doing a huge rooftop campaign where they're raising money for muscular dystrophy. They might want to try to get on that CFCW morning show and get an interview.
That'd be great.
So
I would love that.
Little plug for that.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking to him next week, and who knows what else. But this is...
You've already embarrassed him today by saying he cried going to school, so we'll see what happens next week.
I mean, I cried when my kids went to school.
Oh, so did I. He had a lot of feels. All right, well, here's the little song that we play at the very beginning or the very end of the program.
Immaculate guitar playing.
Such
really
good guitar
good.
playing. So much fun, my friend.
Thanks for
Hopefully
having
your
me, guys.
daughter's not puking when you get home.
I'm banking on that she's going to be better.
Yeah? All right, good for you. Take it away, Dan.
Even when we got nothing to talk about, there's nowhere I'd rather be. 'Cause there's something about you and me just sitting around talking Scheetz.